Hey everyone, welcome back to JP's Budget Collecting and our weekly look back at the hot comics from 6 months ago. This week we're looking back at the hot comics from August 11th, 2023, and I'm recording this on February 8th, 2024. What's it, 2023 again? As always, I give you those dates so you know when this information is actually relevant, because the market is always moving and changing, as we will see in the difference of prices of these books just 6 months later. As always, we're looking back at the CBSI Hot Top 10 and the Comic Tom Key Collector Hottest Trending Comics of the Week. Each week, they put out a list of books that are moving or trending in the market, that are jumping in value, that people are chasing because of news, or it's a hot new cover, or there's some sort of buzz around a character, or something got optioned, or whatever the reason. So we take those books and we come back 6 months later and we see, how are they doing in the market? Should we have just been patient? Should we have chased them? And what factors differentiate between the ones that were worth chasing at those prices and the ones we should have just been patient on? So we got 20 books to talk about this week, as there was no crossover between the lists. So let's dig in and see what we can learn. First up, we got Invincible number 120. This is the Death of Battle Beast. And this was hitting the list because we got an intro to season 2. We got some stuff. Season 2 was getting ready to come of the series on Amazon, and Battle Beast was supposed to show up in season 2. So I'm not sure why we weren't going for his first appearance and we were chasing the death of, but we were, because that won't happen in season 2. But anyway, that's what was going on. Back then it was $20 to $25 for this book. Now it's $30 to $60 for a raw copy. 9.8 going $150 to $175. So this is up in straight cash. If you've ever read the series, Battle Beast is one of the better characters for sure in the series. He's a beloved character for people that are Invincible fans. But yeah, a little surprising that this one has jumped, but it definitely has. Next, we have Invincible number 2, the first appearance of Adam Eve. This is going for $150 back then, 9.8 going for $430, because we were getting a origin episode for her before season 2 that people were watching. Now it's $175 to $250 for a raw copy, $475 to $550 for a 9.8. So this book has jumped considerably as well. This has jumped a lot. People are definitely interested in this character, and yeah, this book is moving. The first Invincible number 1 has always been a big book. Nice to see the Adam Eve book getting some love. All right, let's keep moving here. We got next, we have Omega number 1. This is the first appearance of Faust, and this was a cover that was limited to 1,000 copies. And then this was just the author Tim Vigil talking about it in a way that made people think maybe there was going to be something that happens with this book, caused it to like double in value on a couple of things. The raw copy went for $660, a 9.0 went for $650. So people were chasing this hard. Only one sale recently here on this one, and it was a 9.8 that went for $810, and it was also signed. So overall, I think this is down, and I'll be back looking at what's listed here, what the values are. We're going to call it, even though you're like, wait, the one sale is higher, but that's a 9.8 versus a 9.0, and signed, and it's still just slightly more. So yeah, we're going to call this down, and I'll be back just based on where this is at. But I don't think there's anything happening here, just more of some wishful thinking, I think. Next, we have Journey into Mystery number 622, the second print movie photo variant of Loki. This was happening because the actor was doing a signing at CGC, so that's what caused us to hit the list. Raw copies were going for $45, 9.8 went for $680. This book is all over the place. Raw copies going anywhere from $15 to $160, and I do mean anywhere in that range. So hard to really judge anything on the raw copies. 9.8s though, $350. So a 9.8 is now well down from the 9.8 value back then. So we're going to call this a trap based on the 9.8s. There's a lot of sales for less than 45 on this for raws, but there's enough sales above. It's just hard to judge what's going on with the raw. It's just a wide range there. People are willing to pay for high grade raw, but 9.8s, like I said, have dropped considerably from back in the summer. Next, we're going to start moving into covers. We have a bunch of covers this week. We have Dwellings number 1, the J. Stevens 1 in 10 variant. This 1 in 10 variant was going for $40 to $50 out the gate. Now, $20 Only one sale though, or only one sale since early December, and it went for $20. So we're gonna call this down in a trap. It just hasn't held up at all here. There was a couple other sales, or was another sale I think that was this cover and another cover that went like 3 different copies, or maybe it was the whole series and included this cover. I forget now. It was like 50. So it's definitely down from what it was back then. Next, we have a repeat offender from last week on the list, Transformers #1, the black and white SDCC Ashcan. So we had the color on for a couple weeks. Now we've had the black and white on for a couple weeks. A lot of interest in these covers. Back then, this thing got all the way up to $400. 9.8 going for $960. Now it's a $150 to $180 book. 9.8, $250. That's a dumpster fire. Yeah, it got way beyond its means. People were chasing this thing for way more than they should have. Still a really good value right now in terms of for an SDCC variant to still be going for this much. Just not the craziness that it was last summer. All right, next we have Max Rebo #1, the Ryan Brown 1 in 100. Raw copies on this were going for $123 to $135 right out the gate, which is not that good a sign for a 1 in 100, but that's where it was at. Now it's a $15 to $40 book. So yeah, that's another dumpster fire. This 1 in 100 has not held up at all. Yeah, and this book has just crashed. So no real interest in this book anymore. All right, we're going to keep going. We got Amazing Spider-Man #26, the Gabriel Del Otto, limit to 480 copies. 9.8 to this, we're going for 30 to 300 to 350 back then. Now a 9.8 will cost you 115 to 170. 9.9s will cost you 215 to 260. So yeah, this is another dumpster fire. No real raw sales here to report. It's all slab stuff. Apparently this was a high. The way this particular variant came out was definitely a ton of high grade 9.9s, even before they just started suddenly pre-screening for 9.9s so they can start handing them out. But yeah, back when 9.9 meant something, it was, yeah, this is still a dumpster fire. All right, next we have Scarlet Witch #7, the Megan Hendrick 1 in 50. Raw copies were going for 70 to 80. Back then on this 1 in 50, which is not a great sign on a 1 in 50. Needs to get over 100, and that's what's happened here. Only 2 recent sales, 38 and 50 for the 2 sales. So this is down in a trap, despite this character in green, I believe, being its first appearance. Doesn't matter. This one is back way up. Next, we got more covers. We got Night Terrors #3, the Christian Dunst 1 in 25. A little homage here. This one was going for 35 to 40 on a 1 in 25, also not a good sign. But this one actually did buck the trend, and it stayed basically right there. It's now a $30 to $50 book. 2 9.8 sales, one for 100, one for 200. My guess is it's probably closer to the 100, but we'll see. Maybe 100 to 150 versus that 200 sale. But overall, we're going to call this steady and worth it. This homage cover has stayed right where it was at for the most part on the raw side. Next, we have Night Terrors Zatanna #2, the Chuma Hill 1 in 50. This 1 in 50 was going for crazy numbers back then. 150 to 175. Normally, a 1 in 50 gets to that high. That's a really good sign. Not the case here. Only 1 recent sale for $65. That's a dumpster fire. This is bucking the trend in the wrong direction. Normally, like I said, a 1 in 50 that gets to triple to plus ratio is a great sign for something holding pretty good value. Not the case. This became a dumpster fire. Next, we have another book on the list again for the second week in a row. Night Terrors Ravager #2, the Natalie Sanders 1 in 25. But really all that was going on here was the same values as we talked about last week, just the opposite list. So same result, 40 to 50 back then, which is not a great sign for 1 in 25, but also bucking the trend. It's now a $70 to $90 book, so this is up in straight cash. So this is one that, yeah, has continued to do really well for a 1 in 25. All right, with that, we're finally going to move into some comic buzz, and we still got like 8 books to talk about. So we got Amazing Spider-Man #31. This has several things going on in it. Marriage of Robbie Robertson and Janice Lincoln. So the children of Tombstone and Robbie Robertson Sr., whose Spidey knows the Daily Bugle. I'm getting my words all mixed up all of a sudden. We got MJ getting her jackpot costume. We have Kamala back after just 5 issues of being dead, although she actually comes back in an X-Men book is where she gets brought back, but she appears back in Spider-Man just 5 issues later. So, wow, that death of Kamala was really a big deal. Anyway, this book was going for $10 kind of out the gate with all this stuff going on, and now it's a $4 to $10 book. Yeah, this is an I'll Be Back. It doesn't really have real value here for the most part. Occasionally it goes for 10, but there's some, I guess, very minor keys in here, and that's about it. Next, we have Spider-Man Reign, #1. This is a book that's somewhat notorious, but they announced that there would be a follow-up to this particular series coming back, a new series, so that's what caused people to chase it. Also, supposedly, some people on TikTok just found it, and yeah, there was a bunch of TikTok stuff going around about it. So anyway, that's what caused it to hit the list back then. Raw copies were going for $12, a 9.8 went for $120. Now it's a $5 to $15 book, but most of the sales are under 10. 50 to 100 for 9.8. So we're going to call this a down and an I'll Be Back. Just not a lot of real value here. It's not like it's a beloved story. So, all right, with that, we got one Sony related book, Marvel Superheroes Secret Wars #7, first appearance of Julia Carpenter. And basically we were getting some confirmation around this time that she would be in the movie, that Sydney Sweeney was playing her. There was some other stuff going on here. So that was what caused it to hit the list. Back then, raw copies averaging about $20, which is not really that much different than the long-term average on this book. 9.8 is $230, which was maybe up a little bit back then. The movie's about here. It's going to be here pretty soon. Raw copies now 10 to 25, 9.8, 2 to 300. So raws are maybe on average down just slightly, 9.8 up just slightly. Overall, we're just going to call this steady and I'll be back. We will see what happens after this movie hits theaters and how people react to these characters. Don't know a lot of people that are super excited for this one. All right, with that, everything else is going to be MCU sort of related. First, we have New X-Men, 114, the first appearance of Cassandra Nova, who's rumored for Deadpool villain back then, or one of the many Deadpool villains back then. Raw copies on this book, though, were only going for $5. 9.8 hit 300, though, which seemed really high. Now it's still a $5 to $10 book raw, about what it was back then. But 9.8s are now $80 to $100. Yeah, that's a dumpster fire on that 9.8. So we're going to call that out. Because, going from a $300 book to under 100, not a good investment if you bought that 9.8 at 300. Next, we have Deadpool, Merc with a Mouth, #7, first appearance of Lady Deadpool. One of the many rumors, either of Taylor Swift being Lady Deadpool or Dazzler or whatever, and I guess Rob Liefeld had posted something about her being Lady Deadpool, and caused raw copies to hit 85, 9.8 hit 325. Now it's a $40 to $100 book raw, with most of the sales lower than that 85 from before, but not a ton. The average is probably more around 60 here. 9.8 is 275 to 325, so a slight step back there, but within the same range. So we're going to call it down, and I'll be back here on this book, but still in around the same range. Next, we have All New Wolverine, #2, the first appearance of Gabby, or Honey Badger, or I think Scout, and I'm not sure what they're calling her now. And they've changed her codename a couple times. But anyway, the sister clone of Laura Kinney of X-23. Raw copies back then were going for 50, 9.8 going for 115. Now raw copies are 30 to 65, 9.8, 125 to 165. So 9.8's up slightly. Raw copies around the same price. We're going to call this a steady and worth it. This was hitting the list because of rumors that we're going to get Laura and we might get Gabby too. I think that was a bit of a stretch. I really like Gabby as a character, but I would be very surprised if we get her. Next, we have Nova, #1. This has to be the most MCU spec book ever that has never come to anything. It's been on lists so many times and it's never happened. But we'll see. This is the first appearance of Nova of Richard Rider. Back then, raw copies were going for 130. 9.8 was 1550. This book has been all over the place over the last 5 years. Now it's a $30 to $100 book raw. 11 to 1200 for a 9.8. So another down and I'll be back. Another lull in the Nova rumors. I'm sure there'll be rumors again before the year's out and it'll hit the list again. But yeah, right now it's down a little bit. And then finally, we have Daredevil number 126, the first appearance of Heather Glenn. It's a character I know nothing about. I don't even remember what they said about her. I didn't go back and rewatch the videos. I just looked at my notes. But supposedly rumors that she was going to be in the show. Of course, this was pre all the rewrite. This was when we were getting no Foggy and no Karen Page. So yeah, who knows if this character is going to appear. But back then, it was an $18 book raw, and people were chasing, ooh, we might get this character. Now it's a $5 to $18 book for like the vast majority of sales. But there was a $30 sale and there was a $40 sale. But overall, I'm going to take the... Seemed like extreme outliers. They didn't really make a lot of sense. But so I'm going to focus on the 5 to 18 and say down, and I'll be back. But there's all the information, at least, on this book for you to judge for yourself. So that is this week's list. 20 books to talk about. I need a drink of water. I want to thank you guys for watching, and we will catch you next time. Later.